And so these four elements are ubiquitous principles in creation. And out of these four elements, then, everything is given shape and form and comes into being. Hi, I'm Aaron Tomlinson, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to talk to you about what the Bible says about the macrocosm, the universe, and the microcosm, humanity or subjective experience. And to do that, I'm going to go back to the very beginning in the Bible, and I'm just going to quote some scriptures for you. And I want to begin with Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the darkness. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Now, whether you think the Bible's authoritative, whether you take it literally, whether you take it metaphorically, understand that it's being written in an ancient context with the ancient beliefs and the ancient wisdom. And on this channel, we've been talking about the ancient Hermetic corpus, the Hermetic wisdom, the perennial wisdom. Manly Hall calls it the secret teaching of all ages. And so it reflects this ancient wisdom because to the ancients, to the alchemists in the Renaissance period and Enlightenment period, to the occult revival that happened in the mid 19th century and even unto today, there's a big concern about what are known as the four elements, and then a fifth element, which is called the quintessence. So the occult teaching is that everything came out of what's known as the fifth element, or this quintessence. It's this invisible, they believed it was a substance. Some called it astral light. In the East, they call it akasha. Maybe today, scientifically, we would call it the quantum field or the matrix, the divine matrix. But it's this unseen element, the fifth element, the quintessence. And out of that then came four elements of, fire, wind, water, and earth. And we see all of this in Genesis chapter 1. We see God hovering, the Spirit of God, which would be the quintessence, hovering over the face of the deep. But the word spirit there can also be translated as wind. And so we have the wind, we have God speaking, the quintessence, and then we have water, he's hovering over the face of the deep, and we have earth. And then when God says, "Let there be light," we see the fire. And so these four elements are ubiquitous principles in creation. And out of these four elements, then, everything is given shape and form and comes into being. Now, fast forward to Genesis chapter 2, where we see God making Adam, and you see the same principles, because if you look at the text closely, it says that there had been no rain upon the earth, but that water came up from the earth to water the ground. So there's your water. So when we say that God formed man of the dust of the ground, it's a little bit misleading, the word dust there, because we tend to think of dust as dry dirt. But in the context, we can see that it's actually moist dirt like clay, right, that God used. So there's your water and your earth. And then it says God formed man out of this clay, and he breathed into him the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Now, breath, obviously, there's wind there, right? But in the Hebrew, the word is a little bit more powerful. And it basically says when God breathed into Adam, he ignited a fire into Adam. He ignited a fire into Adam. So there's the fire. And so the picture there then is that humanity, Adam, the original man, became an energetic being. But the point I'm trying to make is that we see the same principles in the macrocosm in Genesis chapter 1 with the four elements. And we see the same principles in Genesis chapter 2, where God is making man out of the clay. We also see the four elements coming into play. So we have the macrocosm that we've been talking about in Genesis 1, and we have the microcosm in Genesis 2. If you find principles out there, you'll find the same principles in here. If you find the principles in here, you'll find the same principles out there, which leads to a Hermetic maxim that says, as above, so below. And so we can see that, again, whether you take this literally, whether you take it metaphorically, whether you just think it's an ancient writing, it's reflecting these ancient ideas of the occult. And so what I want to point out to you before I go on this video is that balance or well-being or health or therapy from this perspective of the Hermetic wisdom has to do with managing these elements within yourself and therefore managing energy or energy centers within yourself. So well-being today is approached as behaviorism. It's even called behavioral health, and it's approached psychologically, it's approached intellectually and cognitively. The ancients would have approached it more energetically and would have approached health and well-being, both physically and mentally and emotionally and spiritually, as a balancing of these energies inside the microcosm, inside yourself, inside your subjective experience. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoy the content, please find the link in my bio and follow along, and I'll be back with you again next time. Thanks for watching.